Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our next lesson, 9.3, page 370 in our Big Ideas book. We're going to continue with surface area and volume, specifically surface area today. We're going to do our last lesson on surface area, where we use the formula to find the surface area of, yes, yet another figure, this time a cylinder. We're going to find the area of a cylinder. Our essential question, what is a lateral surface, and how do you find the surface area of a cylinder? So this word lateral surface might indicate that there's one more thing we have to learn about in a cylinder that is different from the other figures, and we got to know what it is so that it can help us when we're substituting in values to find, then using math in order of operations to find the value we're looking for. So you took some notes from surface area of a cylinder, key idea, top of page 370. And hopefully I can add to that. If I can, please write some stuff down. If not, kick back, listen, and just absorb one more time. So here we have a cylinder. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, this cylinder is just like a prism in that it does have two bases, two faces that are opposite, parallel, and congruent. So there are two bases here, a base at the top, a base at the bottom, or if it was laying on its side, you would have one in each spot. All right? So the lateral surface is a little tiny bit different than in a prism. In a prism, they were called lateral faces, and they were all rectangles. And if you took them and laid them out in a net, all those rectangles formed a larger rectangle. Okay, and that was helpful to us in finding the area. In a cylinder, we have a lateral surface. That is because it is rounded. It's like, it's a can. It's a rounded surface. So they call it the lateral surface. All right? And it just so happens that the height on a cylinder is exactly the same as a prism. It is the distance between the two circles, the two bases that we have. And lastly, when you want to find the perimeter of the base, well, hello, perimeter is circumference on a circular base. So we're going to find the circumference. So let's flatten this thing out, because you're going to notice something. When you flatten it out into a net, into a two-dimensional drawing, you can see that we do have two bases. So we have 2 times the area of the base. And when you flatten out that lateral surface, you do end up with a larger rectangle. So once you find the circumference of that, which is they're showing you here that the circumference around this circle is also the length of this rectangle, you can multiply it by the height, and you would have the area of that rectangle. So it makes it pretty easy. Now the book shows you the long drawn out formula. Where the surface area is 2 times pi r squared, which is the area of the bases. There's 2 of them because they're circles, and pi r squared because, yes, they are circles. And then the area of the lateral face is the circumference, which is c times the height, to give you the area of that rectangle. So 2 times the area of the base plus the circumference and the height. That, to me, is a lot easier to remember. It's a lot easier to use. When you use it a lot, you say, hey, 2 times area of the base. I told you this before. Once you identify the base, then you can just say, well, this is the shape of the base. This is how I find its area. This is how I find its perimeter or circumference in the case of a circle. And then I use those formulas, and away we go. So I think it's a lot simpler. Let's do a couple. Find the surface area of the cylinder and round your answer to the nearest tenth. So we do need to round our answer to the nearest tenth. So we're going to use what we learned. 2 times area of the base. Surface area is equal to 2 times area of the base. I like the color code. Area of the base plus the perimeter, which we're going to call the circumference. You can put a P or a C because it is a cylinder, times the height. All right? So I always like to highlight. I like to highlight my bases first. I identify my bases, and I say, hey, the base is a circle, and that's pi times the radius squared. So now I'm going to plug in those numbers for that. So I have 2, because there's 2 of them, one at the top and one at the bottom, times pi, 3.14, times the radius. Well, it just so happens that they gave us the radius in this picture, so we're going to go 2 squared, plus the circumference of this cylinder, which is this circumference of the circle, the circular base, and that is 2 times pi. This right here is 2 times pi times the radius. I always use 2 pi r in this particular case because if I use diameter, because sometimes they will give you the diameter of a cylinder, If you use the diameter, then you can get confused. All right, you can get confused. But in any case, we're just going to stay with 2 pi r. So 2 times 3.14. And of course, the radius again is 2. And then the height, the distance between the two bases, that is 7. And ladies and gentlemen, when you do all the math now, once you have the numbers substituted in, it's just a matter of doing the math. So 2 times 3.14 times 2, well, that is 25.12. And then you have 2 times pi times 2 times 7, well, that's 87.92. And when you add all those together, you get 113.04. And if we're rounding to the nearest tenth, this 4 does nothing to the 0, so our final answer, after we round it to where they're asking us to, heavens to Troy, is 113, and our units are inches. We're talking surface area, so it is squared. All right, let's go on to one more. Find the surface area of a cylinder with a diameter of 14 centimeters and a height of 8. Round your answer to the nearest tenth. There's no picture here. We're going to do it without the picture, but if you need a picture, by all means, draw yourself a circle, draw yourself 2 lines, draw another circle, and label it if you have to. I'm not going to do that because I want to show that we can do it without that. So 2 times the area of the base plus the circumference times the height. My base happens to be a circle, and it says it has a diameter of 14. With a diameter equal to 14, the radius is half of that, so the radius is 7. So now I'm going to come over here, 2 times pi, because the area of our base is pi r squared. So 2 times 3.14 times our radius, 7 squared, plus circumference. Remember, we're always going to use 2 pi r, so plus 2 times 3.14, and again our radius is 7. And then the height that they gave us in the story problem is 8 centimeters, so we're going to multiply by 8. Now it's just a matter of using our calculator correctly because we don't want to do all that by hand in a long algorithm. So 2 times pi times 7 squared is 307.72 plus 2 times pi times 7 times 8, that is 351.68. And when you add those two together, it just so happens that you get 659.4. We don't have to do any rounding. It's already to the nearest tenth. And so we just add our units, and it does say centimeters. We're talking surface area. It's squared. Moving right along to our last example before our quick write. Whoops. Our last example before our quick write. Find the surface area of this cylinder. Round your answer to the nearest tenth. And so we're going to use 2 times area of the base plus the perimeter and the height, or as most people like to call it, the circumference and the height. And it's all the same thing. I like to identify my bases. I know I'm talking fast, so if I'm really talking too fast, once again, it's okay to watch and listen. Put your pencil down, watch and listen, and then when I'm done with the example, you pause, you pick up your pencil, and then you write everything down. And you're saying what you're writing down in your head, because that's like another way of revisiting what we're talking about. It's a great way to do it. All right, so our base is a circle, so that's pi times the radius squared. We have 2 times 3.14 times the radius. Well, once again, they gave us the diameter. So we have to take that diameter of 9 and divide it by 2 to get a radius of 4.5. Oops, that's kind of close. Radius of 4.5. So I'm going to go over here and go 4.5 squared. And I'm going to add to that my circumference. Once again, I always like to use 2 pi r. You can use the other one if you want. They gave us the diameter, so it's up to you. But I like to stay consistent. It just makes it easier for me. So 2 times 3.14 times 4.5. And the height, the distance between the two circles right here, is 8. And so now it's all left to do nothing but plugging and chugging. So 2 times pi times 4.5 squared is 127.17. Plus 2 times pi times 4.5 times 8 is 226.08. And when we add those two together, we get 353.25. And if we round it to the nearest tenth, as it asked us to do, that's 353.3. Our units are meters. and we're talking area, surface area, so it is square. Ladies and gentlemen, hopefully you have that down. When you come to class, I'm going to show a way to kind of make some of this math a little simpler, but I know that there's some of you who are ready to roll on, and so that'll just be something more I show you in class. So let's do our quick write number 1. Find the surface area of the cylinder, so please quickly make a sketch, make a quick circle, draw the two sides for the lateral surface, draw another circle, label the radius, that's what they gave us, as 4 inches, and the height is 7 inches. When you're done with that, take a quick break, grab yourself a snack, talk to your mama about something, tell her you love her, tell your dad you love him too, and then I'll see you in just